Ciao ragazzi, Claudio Giganti here with Giga Racing, MotoGP talk. We're talking about Valencia, first day of practice, Valencia 1. A lot of things happening in the paddock. Let's start with Valentino, again, back on the route to a nice GP for Valentino Rossi. It looks like tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, will be his first time on the track with FP3, and then we'll carry on through the weekend. Briefly talking about Gerloff, the American rider, he did really good. It was a pleasure watching him. Very pleasant person. He thanked Valentino a lot. Valentino thanked him for taking care of his bike well. So it was a really good day for that. Let's move on to all the talk has been behind Yamaha. Apparently Yamaha got a penalty due to using different parts for the engines. If you guys remember, at the beginning of the season, they had problem with certain valves. Now, they had two manufacturers of valves, and basically one of the two manufacturers made a mistake on the valves. So at the beginning of the season, they had different engines with different valves in it. So at the beginning of the season, every team either can give the plans for the engine with all the details of all the parts or of the engine, or basically get all the engines that they're going to use, which just this year will be 5 engines, will be all sealed. So most of the company, what they do, they only get sealed each engine, 1 or 2 engines at a time. So when they figured out that they had a problem with one type of engine, they declared it to the organization. That was taken in consideration, but the valves that they were supplying on the engine moving forward, they were identical on shape and weight, but the material was different. So basically, you're not allowed to change any parts if you're given plans. They're not the same that they're on the plans. And so there was basically bureaucracy going on and basically figuring out what was the right decision. So the organization came back and gave a penalty to the Yamaha for the Constructor Championship, but the riders were not penalized in any way. So on the GP that it was the problem with the engine, which was the Reds, well, Yamaha finished first, second, and fourth. So some people strongly believe that those valves did make a difference on Yamaha performance. So they came up with these different valves because they were lacking on power. They were trying to get more power out of their engine. Then their engine started breaking down, so they went back to the old valves. Okay, so that's the story that I am aware of. And so it's been a lot of talking behind the paddock because a lot of people say, well, why the constructor got penalized, but the actual riders didn't get penalized. I believe, and this is just my personal idea, that if we were going to penalize Viñales and Quartararo and Rossi, so basically we're gonna have a championship that will take 2 people out of contention, which is Morbidelli and Viñales. So I think to keep the interest and to keep it fair for the championship, they did not want to disqualify the riders and penalize the riders. On this decision, guess what? Dovizioso was really upset by, and I don't understand why, but he was saying that, it wasn't fair that the riders didn't get penalized. And when you do the math, if these points were subtracted, so if that race wasn't counting, well, all of a sudden Dovizioso would be only 12 points away from the championship, leader, which will be still Joan Mir. So I don't understand the Vizioso these days, because do you want to win a championship based on penalties due to motors? If that's like a championship that means anything, now we already lost Mark Marquez due to injuries. Then we're gonna cancel out other two riders. Well, two of the main riders. Well, this championship will be like, reduced to, a couple of riders in contention. Like, I don't know, what is the point of winning? So that's the question I would like to ask Dovizioso. What's the point of winning a championship when the main rider, the strongest rider of all time, the last couple of years, not all time, but a couple of years, has been Mark Marquez, is now on the championship, and we're gonna disqualify a couple of more riders. To me, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm not gonna give any more importance. Around the paddock, everybody's talking about Dovizioso. Where is he going? He's going test driver here and there. I'm not going into it because it doesn't interest me. It's not racing, it's just gossip, so I just gonna stay out of it. So going back to Yamaha, that was not the only shocking news. As you can see, I have a picture behind me of Maverick Viñales. Unfortunately, they had to seal a sixth engine. So you only allowed 5 engines for this championship. So as soon as they sealed and registered another engine, 6th engine, all of a sudden, by the rule book, Viñales is going to have to start the race regardless of disqualifying from the pit lane. So unfortunately, Viñales, I feel bad for him, but he will have to start from the pit lane. Why did they seal another engine? Well, obviously, all the other engines are already reached the mileage, so the kilometers that the factory in Japan recommend for those engines to be raced for hours and kilometers and so on. So they had to use another one. So he will start from the pit lane. And if that was not enough, through the practice, we saw that the electronic engineer of Maverick Viñales packed up basically his stuff and left the paddock. And that was because he was diagnosed with COVID-19, so he had to self-quarantine now, and he won't be part. And then near the end, not even enough by starting from pit lane and having lost one of the electronic engineer. Well, another 4 mechanic, apparently, don't quote me on the number, but I was told 4 more mechanics of the Yamaha team, not necessarily Viñales, but the Yamaha team, they've been diagnosed with COVID, so they have to go in self-isolation. So I think, the fact that the pandemic is expanding and spreading more now, it's affecting, obviously, the MotoGP world, which it was supposed to be under the bubble and everything is safe. So I don't know what's going to happen, guys. I don't know if they're going to race on Sunday. If we get more cases and things got worse, I don't know if they're going to have to put a stop of the whole championship for the year, which will be very unfortunate because, there's, 5 or 6 riders in contention right now. So it is an exciting championship, although Mark Marquez is not in a race. So that covers all the Yamaha misfortune and Viñales misfortune for the day. But let's talk a little bit about the practice. So the practice 1 and practice 2, top of the timesheet, both times Jack Miller, really, really good. I guess it's really motivated to do well, to show his talent and stuff. Near the end of the season, usually every rider puts that extra effort to be up front and to do good. So good for Miller. FP1 on wet tires and rain condition. And then FP2 on slicks, but with some patchy parts of the circuit that was a little moist and a little bit wet. Overall, we can't really count the 2 free practices. Number one, it was wet. And number 2, the second one, again, it wasn't 100% dry. And then, like you guys all know, once you have a heavy rain like they had on Thursday night into Friday, wash out all the rubber or any grip that will be on the track. So when they had the AFP2, the track was obviously very green, we say, so very little grip. So we can take, the lap time as like important like they usually are. But let's go through the list. So on the FP2, we're not gonna go over the FP1. I was wet. The game is gonna change anyway. But on wet, we had Jack Miller first on the FP1 again. Jack Miller, Morbidelli second, Stefan Brundle third, Johan Zarco fourth, Alex Marquez fifth, Danilo Petrucci sixth, Paul Espargaro seventh, and Andrea De Vizioso was 9, Marc Viñales 10. So this lap time you have to take it with granted just because the conditions were very sketchy. Nobody wants to get hurt at the end of the season. Last 3 GP, especially those 6 riders that are in competition to win the championship. For FP2 on the afternoon, again, Jack Miller on top, followed by Alex Espargaro. Very close. Alex Espargaro did really good with the Aprilia. Only close to 1/10 of a second behind. Franco Morbidelli, again, doing really, really good. I know you guys already figured out that I'm a big Morbidelli fan. I think, I hope it's going to be the one that is, it will take over the throne of Valentino Rossi once Valentino Rossi retires. Then we have Nakagami up front again. Is still in a good shape. Nakagami on 4th. Paul Espargaro on 5th. Again, we see the KTM coming up front again. Alex Rins was 6th. Binder with the other KTM is 7th. So again, KTM up front. Andrea De Vizioso was 8th. Fabio Quartararo was 9. Johan Mir 10. Marc Viñales 11th. Okay. So the Ducati were a little bit mixed up because we have Jack Miller on top and then we have Dovizioso on 8th spot and then Zarco 17, Danilo Petrucci 18. So they're spread out from top to all the way to 18 with Danilo Petrucci. The condition again, remember what I said before, Ducati is having problems when there is a lot of grip on the track, and obviously today there was not much grip on the track, so you see the Ducatis coming up front again. So let's wrap it up for today. Looking forward to see Vale tomorrow morning and FP3 out, and let's see like everything unfold as far and the spreading of the virus. Let's keep our finger crossed that we're gonna have a race weekend that we're gonna enjoy. Let's talk tomorrow night about qualifying and stay with us again for next time. Again, this is Claudio Giganti with Giga Racing, MotoGP Talk. See you tomorrow night, guys. Ciao ragazzi, ciao.